Hi, my name is Helena Lim, and I will be going over the implications of a failed education system. First, just to give you a little overview, I will be going over the question, is the American education system? And I will be addressing issues of standardized testing, problems of standardized testing, and support and resources for teachers, making international comparisons, and finally closing up with next steps. One of the biggest issues that American education has is the standardized testing. The United States is heavily focused on standardized tests. One of the tests that we do give is the SBAC testing. It was adapted in 2014 along with the Common Core State Standards, and it's given to third through eighth grade students towards the end of the school year, and it's supposed to measure students' proficiency as well as teacher accountability because it basically leads to an evaluation of teachers' quality of education that they are giving to the students. So if the students are performing not so well, and majority of the students are in that class not performing well, that really it puts judgment on the teacher that they're not doing a good job. And another test that the Fullerton School District adopted is the iReady test. And it's not a standardized test, it's more of a comprehensive test. It is given to kindergarten to eighth grade, and it's supposed to measure students' growth by assessing 3 times a year. But I put this on here because just like the standardized testing, it puts a lot of iReady testing puts a lot of pressure on teachers. As a kindergarten teacher, I know that I felt like I was not doing a good job if my students didn't improve a certain amount from the first test to the next test. And it really put a lot of pressure on me. And I tried to kind of teach through the test. I try to make sure that I went over skills that the iReady test will cover. And so I found myself doing that this year, and it reminded me of the whole standardized testing. Problems with standardized testing is that students are exposed to fewer subjects. Standardized tests is focused heavily on ELA and math, and so there's not that much time for social science and science, especially when it gets closer to testing time. Teachers spend less and less time on other curriculum and focus heavily on ELA and math. And the outcome of that is that students do not receive a well rounded education. Another issue that American education has is the lack of support for teachers. I know that when the Common Core state standards were adopted, many of the teachers felt really lost and they were unsure about how to teach these standards effectively. And in some cases, I know that the teachers were confused on what the standard is asking students to do. I know when I was teaching second grade, one of the standards it was really confusing to me, and I had to do a lot of research and look up a lot of activities that worked on this particular standard. And so I think when the Common Core State standards were adopted, many of those teachers did not feel well equipped to teach these standards. We were lacking professional development. And another thing that we lack are other forms of evaluations. Uh, we feel like, well, I feel like the only form of evaluation that teachers have are the results of these assessments that are given. And that puts a lot of pressure on teachers to teach to a test to make sure that students do well on the test. And we are forgetting all the other skills that these students need in order to have academic success, such as problem solving skills, critical thinking skills, collaborating, uh, using their creativity, communicating with each other. Those are all important skills that students need in order to succeed in life, and we're forgetting all about that so that these kids will do well on the test. And that really leads teachers to teach the test. There less materials are covered. There's more drilling and less meaningful learning, and students have less fun learning. It's not engaging enough for them. I wanted to make international comparisons of the American education system to the other successful countries based on the TIMSS and the PIRLS tests. There are countries that are outperforming the US. And so I think there are three reasons for that. First is class size. In America, whether you're in kindergarten or in sixth grade, the class size is pretty much 30 to 34, maxing at 34. And kindergarten maxes out right now at 33. And even in that, I feel like there should be a differentiation between kindergarten and sixth grade because kindergartners need a lot more individual attention, but yet we still have 33 students in kindergarten, and we still have 34 students in sixth grade. Finland, as well as many other Asian countries, they have smaller class size, and this allows teachers to give more individual attention to these students, therefore making the students more successful in education. I think in America, we really lack giving students meaningful learning. Um, I know that with the 21st century learning skills, we want one of the goals that we have for students is for students to make those real life connections and make learning meaningful. However, America is still very heavily focused on direct instruction. They might integrate other instructional strategies, but the focus is very much on direct instruction still. And we might do extra things to work on these other skills, but direct instruction is still heavily used in our schools. In Finland, countries like Finland, active learning is used. So students are actively learning by problem solving, by using their critical thinking skills. They're using their creativity, they are using deductive reasoning, and they're making their learning meaningful through that. And the third reason why I think these schools are successful in other countries is that it's student oriented. America, although we say that we are student oriented and we want these students to succeed in life or succeed in their education, very often I think that teachers still teach to a test because of the standardized testing. So they're teaching, but students are not necessarily learning. In countries like Finland, students stay with the same teacher for 3 years because this will benefit students. Um, the teacher will know exactly what they need every year. There is no um, learning curve that they'll have every single year. There are 3 teachers per class, and I know one of them is an RTI that works with the struggling students. And this really gives a lot of support to the students in class. And after 45 minutes of learning, they have a 15-minute break. And we all know how important physical activity is for their learning and their brain. So they really gear their education system towards what the students need. In conclusion, I do want to say that America really needs an education reform as soon as possible. First, we need to minimize standardized testing. I don't think standardized testing is bad, and I think there is a place for it. However, we should use it for its purpose of assessing students rather than making that an evaluation of how effective teachers are, because then that will just make the teachers um, want to do better on the test rather than give students um, meaningful learning and a good education. There should be multiple ways to evaluate teachers because there are many reasons why students might do well or might not. Their socioeconomic backgrounds, um, the different uh, support that they need. All of those things become factors of why they are not performing well. And we need to look at that and make other ways for teachers to be evaluated. We also need to look at successful countries to get ideas. I'm not saying that whatever worked in that country will work for ours, but we need to look at what are the different things that we can bring in and try it out in our country, because the other countries are successful for a reason. And I think it's time to get those ideas and try it out. There needs to be more professional development to better equip teachers. I know that many districts are working towards professional development, and I think it's a good start, but we do need more of it. But I think it's going in the right direction where teachers' voices are being heard and more of those professional developments are being given. And lastly, I think we need to have more faith in teachers to do their best in ensuring that students get the best possible education. I mean, I feel that majority of the teachers come into this profession for that reason, for them to be able to serve their students and teach their students to the best of their ability, with what they know. And I know in those countries that are successful, they do have accountability, but it's not based on standardized testing. Only US does that. Those other countries have accountability with the principal and their peers, and they all hold each other accountable. They work together. And I think if that could happen here and we have more faith in these teachers, I feel like we will have much more success in making sure that students get the best education possible. Thank you for listening.